Bonjour à tous et bienvenue dans le podcast Référencement avec Monsieur Dixon Jones, Big Boss de Majestic. Alors, Dixon, est-ce que tu parles français? Donc, nous allons, on va parler donc en anglais et vous allez avoir les sous-titres. Dixon, hi.
Hi. Yes. No, I think going English is probably best for all concerned.
So yeah, maybe my English is going to be a little bit better than your French. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I think I'm saying that. Yeah, it's I don't know what it is about the British learning system, but we're just not good at learning other languages. So,
well, you guys are the king of the world. Like, why? It's not because if you need it. Okay.
Once we were king of the world, Then it was America. But when Trump gets in, who knows?
Yeah, well, definitely that's going to be a problem.
The world may change.
Yeah, but England was the king of the world, and therefore you don't need anybody else. You're on an island. You don't need anybody else. Anybody who lives on an island, they don't need the rest of the world.
I think there are some advantages of being on an island for sure. Yeah.
But you are working. You are one of the founders of Majestic SEO, and that's not on an island. That's on the internet, which is worldwide.
Yeah, it is somewhat ethereal. Yeah, absolutely. It's
even if the French government thinks sometimes the internet stops at the at the frontiers, at the boundaries of the country, and they're making laws so they in that order. But anyways, okay, Majestic, one of the all-time favorite tools for SEOs, checking links.
Sure.
Especially, you got a big bump since Google started to tackle links. Mr. Penguin.
We've had a few bumps along the way, so there's some good bumps along the way. So yeah, I can tell you about some of those if you like in a bit.
But you have, I think, one of the reason, and maybe the single reason Majestic is so successful is because Dixon Jones, maybe as you get older a little less, but you used to every day be somewhere in the world talking to SEOs.
Well, firstly, you're telling me I'm getting old. Thank you so much for that, for reminding me. And actually, I went out yesterday, so we're in March, and yesterday I came back from Munich, and that was the first time I left the country all year, which for me is just bizarre. You
used to be 5 days a week.
Well, I still am 4 days a week out of the house because I live in rural England, really. So I drive up to Birmingham, which is Majestic's main HQ, from Monday to Thursday, and then Fridays here at home. So that's good.
It's all like Birmingham, Manchester. It's like the Silicon Valley of England.
Yeah, right? we call it Silicon Canal in Birmingham because we've got more canals in Birmingham than Venice. Just not so pretty. So, but yeah, no, I did travel a lot, and I still will travel a lot as well. I'm not gonna do a Mac cuts and disappear off the face of the earth. I hope I'm going to be back out there. I just need a little bit of time to consolidate some things in the office for a start, and just get back on track with some really great ideas and projects that we've got going on. And also, there's other people in the organisation that are pretty good. So Mel Carson is over in Seattle, and he's a pretty cool ambassador for us as well. We've got Francois in France, Francois Goub, who's brilliant, and Miguel in Spain. So we got and Louis sometimes. So we got some, a bunch of people out there that are pretty good at talking about Majestic. So they don't always need me, but I kind of like going out and talking. Too long stuck at home, and I kind of feel insignificant to society, and I want to be significant to society. So I got to get out more again.
but I have you today on the show because you're gonna announce something really big.
Yeah, we are. So
hold on. Let's keep them all. Don't tell them yet.
Okay.
Don't tell them yet. Let's wait for a few minutes. Let's give some background to our listeners, because Majestic is. When did you start off?
Well, we've been going for something like 11 years, really. But to be fair, when it all started, the founding director really is Alex, and he started by programming in his front room, and he wrote 500,000 lines of code before I met him. Yeah, wow. He didn't have a product, but actually that's not true. He just got a product out, a very sort of raw.
He's from eBay, right? No,
he's not from eBay. No. He did get some. He did get. We have got some involvement from someone that was involved.
Yeah, that was the finance part. Okay,
but no, no. He was at a site called Jungle, which is an early eBay, if you like. So an early Amazon that didn't succeed the .com boom and bust, and then he went on to do other big data stuff. But then he decided, this thing called Google was coming along and doing pretty well, and he had this really great idea. He thought, with things like the Human Genome Project and the SETI in space program, they're using computers around the world to do all the data crunching instead of a big data center in Mountain View like Google does. And he thought, would it be possible to use people's computers to build a search engine? And that was his original idea. And so he found a bunch of guys out there that were willing to try, and they all downloaded the software and started crawling from their computers and stuff. And he found two things. Firstly, for crawling, it's great. You can crawl the whole web quite effectively that way. It's a good way to crawl the web. But what was bad was that in order to analyze the algorithm part of the search engine, you had to transport all that data back to a central location.
Yeah.
Which would break the internet. You can't transport the internet every day on the pipes of the internet. So that's how we kind of got around to the link element, because that kind of was the most difficult part to collect, simple part to then, put into a package and, send down pipes and things and centralize. And so we then, now Majestic is one of the biggest web crawlers on the planet. We do have a search engine in alpha, but the link information has been going live for 6 years now, I think, and it's been growing every single year, really quite dramatically. And when it's maybe 7 years, and when Yahoo Site Explorer died, that was one bump. That you talked about bumps along the way. I remember Yahoo Site Explorer going offline, and myself and Ram Fishkin from Moz, who does Open Site Explorer as well, we had to talk to each other that day. That's a big leap, so we had a good chat there. And then, when we came out with TrustFlow, that was a massive improvement in our quality metrics, and so there's a big bump there. And then,
basically today, TrustFlow plus citation flow replaces PageRank. That's our metrics.
I mean, the fact that Google now have just stopped even showing their PageRank, not that they've been updating it forever, but there are so many ways in which TrustFlow is a better metric than PageRank and citation flow as well, even without the topical stuff, which we can talk about in a bit. But the basic metric of TrustFlow for anyone that's listening that doesn't know, it's a score from 0 to 100, just like PageRank is a score from 0 to 10. But firstly, that's one more degree of freedom. We got 100 points on the scale instead of 10. But it also updates more or less every day, whereas of course PageRank never updated towards the end, and so it's more granular. It's also TrustFlow is actually a stronger metric than PageRank in the way that it's calculated, because it's got some elements that are different to PageRank.
But for instance, if I recall, when the link is clicked, that's one of the elements you use. No.
We don't do any traffic tracking. This is all about influence, not about traffic. But the thing is, our citation flow, if we just looked at our own maths and we looked at the PageRank algorithm maths, although the algorithms are different, the principles are similar, citation flow should correspond or correlate reasonably closely to Google's PageRank. So, and way back in the day when I did some check-in, even before I got too far into it, I found a really high correlation, 0.83. I took a 10,000 websites, and I found got the PageRank for them. I don't know, how did I get the PageRank? I checked it with Moz data, I checked it with our data, and we found a pretty high correlation. I don't know where I found a data of 10,000 PageRank results, but I got it from somewhere, and then I correlated our information. So we were pretty close. But the thing is, TrustFlow is stronger as a quality metric. It may not correlate so well to the original PageRank algorithm, but it does have a connection. It uses a sort of vector algorithm to work out how close the links are to places that we already know are trustworthy. So it's actually a better signal of trust than citation flow. But then having the two together is really powerful as well.
I mean, because it's one of the basics now in link audits is, okay, do you have trust flow above 30, 40, and is citation flow and trust flow kind of equals, or if you have double citation flow and trust flow, it's bad for your link profile. And
it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because different SEOs can then interpret the data a different way. It's quite simple to see the data, but then interpreting it, I think, still experience counts.
And but the key for you, and I remember your talk, it was about Twitter, and you were asking a question. You were, who is more influent, Obama or Lady Gaga?
Yeah,
and that was a tricky question.
Slide. I still use that today. I should probably go on to Trump and Obama, but there's every chance that Trump might win, so I can't do that one yet.
No, but Lady Gaga and Obama was a tricky question, because most of the people answered Lady Gaga because she has more followers on Twitter, but it's not influence.
But ultimately she doesn't have the influence that Obama has. But then the next slide on from that, which I'm sure you remember, was we then laid over the topical information, and it really highlights that influence only works in context. You can be the most powerful man in the world, but you still can't influence what download track somebody's going to buy on iTunes.
Exactly.
And I think that's where PageRank as a concept really fell down. And I think that Google knew that years ago, and I think they did start categorizing and creating more
topical PageRank
stuff than the PageRank we kind of knew as the old guard SEOs. But then but no one else could do it. So there wasn't that. I find that SEOs tend to jump on whatever information they can get, instead of really going back to understanding, if you were Google collecting all this information, or, how would you then interpret it?
It's what I tell people is try to ask the right questions before trying to find the good answer, the already answers. Meaning the question is simple, complex to resolve, but simple. There's a machine trying to please a human. A robot, Google, trying to please a web user. We SEOs have to figure out how a machine could want to please this human, basically how a machine would do it. And I think we're getting closer now with all the semantics, with the topical trust flow and so on. We're getting closer to this ideal website for Google. What does he want as far as signals? That's kind of known today. It's not.
I think one of the things that we forget as SEOs is that Google likes signals that were generated by human behavior.
Yeah.
Like links, like reviews, those kind of things. They do like them. They just don't like the fact that as soon as SEOs know about them, we kill the hell out of them. So
for people who don't know, you are SEO. You were one of the top contributors in Webmaster World. You had an agency. I think you sold it.
Yeah, well, I still have a shareholding, but I'm not a director anymore, and it's doing very well actually. So yeah, they seem to they're better without me.
You're not just the founder of Majestic; you are a real SEO.
For sure, I started I set up a limited company, a very early SEO company in 1999, which still goes to this day, called Receptional, and really at that time, Google was not on my radar. The big players were Lycos, Yahoo, or Inktomi, which was feeding Yahoo. AltaVista was big there as well. Infoseek, and so there were so many search engines trying to play that game, and the way they were monetizing things was crazy because there was an advert at the top. You type in credit cards, and there was an advert at the top for Nike shoes. No relevance whatsoever. More importantly, the result at the top there was going to get a much higher click through than the Nike shoes advert, of course. But it just became obvious to me that was maths, and my degree. Way back in the day, you told me how old I was.
I'm old too.
It was in maths and management studies, and my maths wasn't quite good enough. I was better at marketing than maths, but it was just good enough to me to understand correlations and start figuring out some of this stuff. And I think now it's just experience that keeps me going. But yeah, then we did very well as a SEO company. I think. Pretty much, as you say, I was a moderator on Webmaster World for a lot. I still am technically. I don't get there very much, but and then when we started working with Majestic, by the time we left there, but by the time we changed Majestic's brand, we were top 3 all over the world for SEO, which was great. But we realized that we were not so much an SEO company as a data company. True. So we had to grow our brand. But it's.
But let's go back to topical trust flow, because to me, the topic sensitive or topical page rank, there is a bit of problem with translation in French, because we call it the page rank thématique, which is topic sensitive page rank, and I think the right definition is topical page rank, not topic sensitive, because topic sensitive is thematic, which is more like a cluster, like demos, categories. While topical is what's interesting for the page, what's the real. It's more than lexical field. It's more about semantic. It's more about. It's less restrictive when you use the word topical than topic sensitive. I don't know.
That's interesting actually, because maybe that's a language problem that we can't get over. Because some parts of topical trust flow are looking at content, page topic. But other parts of topical trust flow are really looking at how other web pages influence it. So some of the stuff is outside in. In fact, most of the topical stuff is not saying that your content is about Star Wars. It's more about the people that are referencing you and influencing your brand are about Star Wars, because.
I call that the smell. It's more than the a
see
footprint.
The French understand these things so much better than the English.
It's like a footprint, or more like smell. It's something. There's the smell of the keyword. There is the keyword to intent. Around an entity, there is the surrounding, which is. You remember that drinking game when you put a card on your forehead with a word.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when people make you guess that word, they use more than just the lexical terms, synonyms, and all. They use a whole range of elements to make you guess.
They wave hands.
They use hands. True. They draw. You know what I mean? So I think it goes beyond the keyword. The keyword in itself is it's interesting. But okay. Anyway. Just to tell you a secret is that the topical page rank is my main strategy on the concept to organize a website. It's some kind of semantic siloing, if you want to, or topical siloing, But it's basically what you do off-site, I do it on-site, because I think it's the same. And if you don't have the right silos with the good semantic affinity and so on, it doesn't work as well as. But for once, the French are way ahead, and I just saw Rand Fishkin's Whiteboard Friday, and I saw his tool in Most Pro. So they're getting there a little bit, topical, related keywords, blah blah. But for once, we're ahead. But you'll know more about that when I'll try to explain it to
I've not seen that Whiteboard Friday. I mean, I remember back in the day, we certainly talked about keywords in a different way to what we have recently, because we did have, of course, all the Google, before Google not provided, Google used to provide all the keyword-rich information much, much stronger than it does now. And there were some pretty powerful tools off the back of that would help us group keywords. I remember slides from our receptional days of talking about grouping keywords into concepts, and not having one slide for one page for one keyword, but having a hub of authority within your site that's all about Toulouse or whatever it may be, because if you don't create enough influence for one page to rank.
Exactly.
And I think it's important to be an expert. You can be an expert in several things. It becomes harder. eBay sells all sorts of things, and I think one of the challenges for eBay is that they've got so many items that they sell that you can't. It's hard to be an expert on any one of them. They're just a seller or an auctioneer. But if you're British Airways or Air France, then maybe you can be an expert on every venue every city that you fly to, and then ignore the rest of the cities in the world. Sure. So you can start to do that sort of thing.
Well, all of that, it's fundamental. It goes back, but my point of view is we didn't have to care about all this stuff because it was so easy to rank. It was so easy to spam Google. So why do the job the hard way if it works doing it, half-ass? But
I think
now it's getting tougher.
That might be where Britain and America are way ahead of the French there. Now.
Yeah,
I think the short answer to that is marketing. I think
the French, you always try to cheat. We always try to find the shortcuts. You guys are more straightforward and honest.
Well, I think. Don't get me wrong. We've got plenty of black hats in our world as well. Many. I'm
not talking even about black hats, right? It's about everybody wants to cheat. You don't even need to be a black hat.
Okay. But what I like about that, I mean, for Majestic, that's been great because people use TrustFlow as a currency for buying and selling, domains all over the world. And it's not what we intended, but I guess we knew that was a pretty obvious use of our data, and we probably should have made it harder to figure out what your trust flow was without paying us money. But anyway, it's good that it's become a ubiquitous way of understanding the value of a website or a web page as well.
In a couple of seconds, you're gonna tell us the big surprise. I don't even know about it. You didn't tell me before the show, so I'm gonna be the first one surprised and happy about it.
But you're gonna say, "What's that got to do with anything?"
but I wanted to ask you a question because it has always intrigued me how you deal between the B2C market and the B2B market. Meaning, you sell direct to SEOs who want to use the solution, but you also sell to companies who buy they rent your API. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's huge being able to be successful in both because it's totally different world, totally different approach.
Well, what we do is, I think we're strong at both ends of the market, but not in the middle. So I think we're really strong. For casual users, we charge 40 euros. Well, we have a freemium model anyway, so you can get data for free. But it's only 40 euros a month. It's not out of this world. We do have other things that go up to around about £250. So 400 euros, I think, 350 euros, something like that. Anyway, where the API cuts in. But for most, if you're using it yourself, then for most people, that amount is fine, and it's still B2B because consumers don't use Majestic. We don't. We're all B2B. The difference is: are we going to the end customer, or are we feeding our data through a LinkDex or a BrightEdge or an Analytics SEO or something like that? And so I think our model down at the bottom is great. We're a fraction of the price of Ahrefs or mods, for that matter, and yet our data is really, really, really good, and we've concentrated on the data. And if we've got one criticism that the world fights at us, it says, yeah, but it doesn't look as pretty as the other guys, and that's okay. It's not okay, really. We've got to get that better, but our first and foremost objective is to get this data. So then, what we don't do very well at the moment, and we're fixing, is that middle agency ground where you've got maybe 10 users that are using it. They don't want just a data feed. They do want to use it, but they want to use it as a company. And we got to fix the multi-seat system. We got to give maybe a few more bells and whistles to allow them to PDF files with their logos. Those kind of things would be great. But then at the top end, the real thing is you're not allowed on any of those licenses to resell our data. I mean, you can print off reports and give them to clients and stuff like that, but you can't build a software as a service and say, here's all the Majestic data integrated in there. So we have two or three ways of dealing with the data guys, and the first one we allow one command to be used within the Platinum account. So at $400 a month, $400, 300 euros, whatever it is.
See, it shows you don't travel anymore. You don't even know the conversion pounds euros.
I tell you what, the conversion rate. I mean, the exchange rates have changed so much. I know all the other ones. I know. Anyway, yeah, okay, it's my bad. I'm just going to talk in dollars now for a second. Exactly. Even though we mostly use pounds, but. Yeah, so we do allow people to look up the trust flow and citation flow metrics for any URL and stuff, but we don't allow them to give people backlinks. Our core business is the backlinks that provide all that information, that give us the insight. And if you start doing that in a third-party product, then a couple of things are going to happen. The first is we're going to cut off your API because you're breaking the terms of service. The second is, even if we don't, you'll run out of data, because if your product's any good, then you're going to need more data than you can get in a Platinum account. And thirdly, we'll send the lawyers down. So, so basically, some people do abuse that, but you can't get a business too large that way. You've really got to discuss, do you want to resell Majestic's data? And that's a completely different conversation. We'll help people get up to the level to do that. And there's a huge advantage for them to be able to do that, because they can add value layers, huge amounts of value layers. Because the one thing that Majestic has done is we don't do rank checking. We don't do, looking up other data, Twitter APIs and feeding other bits of data. Majestic can guarantee within a certain service level to these guys that we can give data that we've created, that we're not breaking anybody's terms of service. We don't scrape Google. I think we must be the only major SEO tool that doesn't scrape Google.
True.
And to do that, you have to be pretty good at crawling the rest of the web. But it means that, anybody that wants to buy the data, they know that we're unlikely to get to have it taken away from them. They've signed a contract. We signed a contract. If our API stops, it's not because Twitter stopped providing the data, or Google decided to stop providing not provided data, or whatever. And I think that's fundamental to our business model. It means we control our destiny, and it means that these guys, can build products that add a huge value layer on top of our data. True. So yes, it costs a lot more to do, but we support these guys really well. They, if you have a web account and it stops working, Well, okay. We might apologise, but if these guys, the API stops working, that stops their product working,
True.
it starts. We have to pay back. We pay them that. Every day that we're out, we've got to pay them back money, and and then they also have a higher level of support as well. So they get to see a little bit of our roadmap and get to put in views. To be honest, so does every customer. If you go onto the website and you're logged in, there's a little feedback button. That feedback button sends a form straight into our roadmap system. So we have so our roadmap system. Then, if we've got things internally, that goes into the same system. So very quickly, all of those ideas are centralized, and we do something with them. So if somebody says, "I don't like that," then tell us about it. But it really helps if they tell us what to do better. But the guys that are paying us all this money, then we'll advertise them if they want to on our partnership page. We'll sponsor their conferences. We'll go down and bow down to them as best we can. But the most fundamental thing is they've got a license to resell our data. And anybody that goes to the web interface doesn't have a license to resell.
No, I mean, you have definitely some great tools using Majestic. Personally, SEO Observer, Cognitive SEO. What else I use? Analytics SEO.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have those amazing tools.
There's others. There's link research tools. There's Friday. There's LinkDex.
LinkDex, of course.
There's a few new ones coming out as well. So I think Optimizely and some other guys are coming out with new ones. So we'll see where they go with those. And then I think hopefully some more stuff will come out that eventually uses the topical information a lot more, which is kind of a new generation of stuff. And hopefully it'll be either our guys that are already using our stuff or
and some, what I love is some people do it better than you. For example, the topical trust flow. I don't know if you saw the representation in SEO, the visualization in SEO Observer, the Kevin Richards tools.
All right.
It's very pretty. It's much prettier than yours with just the colored numbers next to
Kevin's. I mean, Kevin has done a brilliant job because that's really mostly him. I think I don't know how big his company is now, but
that's just him
to jump into the reseller license. We sat in a cafe in Paris years ago, and he's kind of like he put his heart and soul in the line to do that. Sure. And so did Razvan from Cognitive SEO, by the way. But I think SEO Observer, he really understands the data, and he's really looked at the other options out there, and he can take it to the next level. So great! I'm glad you're giving him a bit of kudos, because I think he probably deserves it. He's worked hard. Should
we tell them now?
So but you're not allowed to put this out until
it's going to be. Today is Wednesday.
Yeah. Okay. Today is Wednesday. Last night, in the early hours of the morning, at 4 a.m. Your time. No, probably 2 a.m. your time. A rocket took off from Cape Canaveral last night. I'm now saying last night, and on that rocket is a 3D printer. And that 3D printer is going to go up to the International Space Station, and we're going to be the first UK company anyway. But we're going to print a 3D model of the internet in space. So we're printing the internet from space, and we're doing it to try and we think there's a huge affinity between space and the internet. We've got our ambassador in Italy. He used to work with the European Space Agency back in the day, but the whole idea of the internet is a frontier, a huge frontier, as yet pretty much undiscovered. At least as individuals, we've only discovered each individual bit, a tiny bit. Space, the same sort of thing. It's there, it's massive, it's almost infinite, and there's quite a lot of similarities in the sort of the mathematical bits of planets revolving around stars and stars revolving around galaxies and stuff. And then there's sort of thing with flowmetrics as well. So anyway, a company called Made in Space have partnered up with NASA to send a 3D printer up to space.
That's insane.
That kind of needs funding, so it's a commercial relationship that we've got with Made in States to go up there and build this and print this off. And so we're going to have a spaceman printed off internet from space.
Do you go for the $30 million Google is offering? You know, the lunar project or something? Hold on, let me find you the...
Okay.
Because you can even make money. Hold on. Google can...
well, we haven't spent $30 million, so if we can get the money back, that'd be great.
Look, if you Google up... we're on Skype. I can give you the...
Okay.
I can give you the link. But you can even... I'll post the link on the blog post.
Okay. Let's go and have a look.
But you can, there's a grand prize of $30 million, I think.
For doing what?
I don't know. 20 million grand prize, second place, 5 million.
Yeah, I might have to land on the moon to do that. So, but it's a first step. Okay.
It's a challenge. Entrepreneurs and innovators from around the world to develop low-cost methods of robotic space exploration.
Okay. Well, we're kind of in the game,
Yeah, you can try. I mean, it's worth the shot. Fill out the form.
Yeah, might do. I think first. I mean, we're glad to be part of the space thing, and we certainly, want to demonstrate that Majestic is a whole lot more than just an SEO tool, and our brand hopefully is going to go to the next kind of level with that. But yeah, maybe we should go and do that. Check out the price.
I love the idea. It's definitely the representation of the web is definitely similar to the idea we have of space, and the symbol of building representation of the internet in space is I love it.
So because I don't know if you ever saw about last year we started doing 3D profiles of websites, and so you can see what they are. Actually, we kind of let me just I'll grab a link as well if I can get there. Hold on. Of our Majestic landscapes, put it into the Majestic landscapes. Actually, this guy made them. Actually, he's a data artist. I'll send you over his links because he did a few different.
While you talk, I'm trying to think about the title of my blog post.
Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty funky, I think.
This guy's a data artist, and he's done work for the phone company. He's done work for lots of other really big brand names, and he turns data into art, and it's really good because this idea came out of turning one of our things into a 3D lifecycle, because every website is different. Print out a different website and it's a slightly different chart. Most of them look the same sort of thing, but they're slightly different. But also they're different in time. You do it 3 weeks later, and of course you've got more links, and so there's a slight difference in the chart. Anyway, what we did was we wrapped up the same methodology for the whole internet for for all 200 million websites, whatever the number of websites there are. We got all that information and put it into one file, and it's going to print off a big mountain, really. So, and then we're going to, yep.
I've seen 3D models of similar to the physical ones you just showed me. But
good.
Look at what the French are doing right now. I told you about this on-site topical trust flow, basically, and someone came out with a crawler, which makes you've never seen something like that. It's a crawler view of the website, but
very cool.
But it's pretty funky.
Very cool. Yeah. So we've got some stuff that we came out with. I'll just put this link out. If anybody wants to see what we're doing with the big announcement and the space stuff, it should be up there on that URL. That's kind of we're gonna put that as a kind of a living a living page up there where we're going to talk about, because we're going to do a whole lot of other things around space as well, and also around this kind of visualizations and stuff like that link that you just put there as well, because we've been doing a huge number of things on visualizations. Here's another one that's kind of good, which I'm sure we'll blog about as part of that kind of stuff here, which is the Majestic universe, which if you let this one run, it starts gathering all of the websites on the internet and lets them all start collating into a mass of big websites. So the biggest websites start going to the center of the universe and stuff, and then the smaller ones.
I didn't see that one coming. The other one I saw, but are you sure? Because I'm supposed to be in your super VIP mailing list, knowing everything about Majestic before, but I don't remember this one.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually talked about it yet. I mean, we did. It has been up on the web. It has been labs.majestic.com has been up on the web a while, and I've definitely sent you on the secret mailing list when that came out. But although when we put it out, we did it one step at a time, actually. So we did the social profiles, but we've got a bunch of other things that we haven't yet talked about on the internet and haven't brought out. But this one, we kind of, obviously this going to space thing has been years in the planning. You don't just take a rocket off to space. True. And so when these guys when our guys, made this in the summer, we kind of thought, well, it might be good to sort of release that around about the same time as the space launch and stuff. So that'll probably come out as a blog post in English, at least in the next few weeks. But of course, the French now have it first.
Well, so obviously, of course, before sending a man to space with a printer, you figured out what it would look like.
I think it's fair to say we haven't actually got a man in there. It's all right. It's an unmanned rocket that's going up. So, well, no, actually, what it's going to look like is, what it's going to look like is on that short URL, the maj.to URL, or will be. By the time you guys get up there, because we'll probably show what it's supposed to look like. Of course, there's no guarantee that the rocket's going to have taken off. So this is going to be a really bad interview if the rocket didn't take off last night. And then it's still got to get up there. The printing's got to work. I mean, printing a 3D object without gravity is a pretty hard thing to do, I think. So so they did take up a prototype 3D printer last year to just see if they could do things, but this is the first time anything's coming up where actual stuff gets printed out there. So that's a big thing, We're kind of going to, and it's a good chance for us to talk about space as a topic for a while on the internet, because people keep on looking at Majestic data with verticals just for SEO, but space is as yet not commercialized, really, apart from space tourism and stuff. So we can use it to bring out the idea of analyzing verticals and using topical stuff for analyzing verticals. So I'm sure we'll have blog posts
for sure. It's gonna help you come out of the SEO niche, and everybody is gonna talk about you. I mean, it's like it's a Red Bull strategy. Don't talk about the product. Talk about something else.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Although. Yes, I guess it is a Red Bull strategy, although I'm not going to jump out of a balloon in space. That's just not going to be me. They can have that one. They can have that record. We'll get different records.
Well, I'm definitely... I don't even have any words to describe what I'm seeing, because I had no clue you were that far out in the strategy, but it's nice call. Great.
Well, it's good.
It's definitely not the cheapest way to get some.
I mean, if you want to stand out now, and maybe we can go back to you. We were talking just before we went online about how I think the British are probably better at marketing, in many ways, and I think it becomes hard to stand out. You can't just write another piece of content. You've got to do something to stand out. Hopefully this stands out, and you say it's not the cheapest way. Of course it's not the cheapest way. And the amount of effort we've got to put into getting digital assets to back it all up is quite a lot. But it's better than sponsoring, just sponsoring a football team. Although we do sponsor a female football team in locally as well. But I think it's a good way to take our idea to the next level and stand out. But it hasn't gone too far away, I hope, from the tree of we're all about data.
No, that's what I found amazing. It's definitely the symbol link is there. The correlation, the link between what you're doing in space and what Majestic is all about is definitely there. It's not random. Yeah. It's less random than a football team, you know?
Yeah, I think so. So hopefully it'll inspire a few people to have a look a bit closer at what Majestic's doing. Hopefully it'll take us, as you say, out of the SEO tool to this is a major, an interesting player on a world stage or an out of this world stage now. So and if nothing else, we can say we were the first guys to print the internet from space. So
wow,
it'll be great.
Amazing. All right, I'm gonna have to, because I'm scared already with 40 and so minutes of subtitles I have to do now before Wednesday.
Can't you use Mechanical Turk? I know they probably can't.
Yeah,
translate.
no, there's Rev. No, but I have a way of doing it. Meaning, okay. I talk in the mic. I record my voice translating what you say, and somebody is doing the transcript. But it's quicker that way. So I just have 40 and so minutes of work, not hours.
But what you say is get off now. Go and do something else, because I can't record anymore.
But yeah, the last quick question was because I forgot to ask you, but it's very interesting to me, the difference between the French SEO market, which is kind of, we don't know how it works. It works. It's not organized. Everybody is doing things on their ass. And marketing wise, when I see the Americans especially and more or less the British, you're just so sharp. Everything, you never forget anything in the process. When you launch something, everything.
I wish that was true. Firstly, I think that. I think that we're quite good at, with the Americans particularly, are good at creating a brand. And I think that if you try and take shortcuts, you don't create a brand that way, and certainly not a good brand that's going to last the test of time. And a brand is created really by understanding where you're different and where you're unique, and then exploiting that. I'm actually sideways on. I'm doing an MBA, which is kind of like above a degree. And my marketing lecturer, she's very French, and she's written some really good books. So Brigitte Nicolot, if you ever want to track down a French lady that really understands marketing, she's brilliant at it. But she's really helped me at least to see that I was doing okay on marketing, but there's so much more I can do to better understand my strengths, weaknesses. SWOT analysis is fairly basic, but you get it right, and you can really exploit your strengths. You can defend your weaknesses against your weaknesses. And then how you go from one product. A one-product company, a one-trick pony, into either a one-trick pony with a much bigger market, or a multiple-trick pony. If you don't go in the right direction, it's not going to work. You can't.
But more than that, you have the steps. It's like they tell you, step 1 you do this, step 2 we just do it.
Yeah, make steps. If you break the steps, okay, but if you don't make the steps,
it doesn't work as well. If you follow the steps, usually it works much better than just.
And if you make steps, you can train other people to do it as well. So you make the steps and say, look, this has worked for me. I do this, 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 and this. And then, okay, the first time they just copy it and just do it. But then the second time they make it better, or realize that I didn't explain it right, or whatever. And then hopefully next time it gets better and better. I say me. I don't think I'm we're a very small brand, really. Although, we are going to space. So,
you're not a small brand. I mean.
but we're no Google.
It's SEO. That's another thing. Over there in England, you did something that the French weren't able to do, is take SEO seriously and make clients take it seriously. Meaning, you brought it to a level where the budget are there, people are listening, people are doing it. Sometimes, the difference between position 1 and 2 is in millions.
Yeah.
And it doesn't translate in the way the clients in France perceive it. It's more on point in England and over in the US, where you made the client realize really what the end game was and how much they need to spend and how to spend it.
Yeah, I guess we have the advantage of being able to take any content that was, any analysis that was already in English and just give it and put it in front of the client and say, look at this. We don't have to translate it. I remember early days, a guy that did that really well was a guy called Bill Hunt. Bill Hunt, and he's still very influential today. And his organization at the time, he's written really good books on SEO as well. But he had this thing called an opportunity matrix, I think it was called, where he looked at he took data about the predicted click-through rates based on positions 1 to 10 or 1 to 20, and then took the customers' data of where they were ranking, and then he just mounted up the value of all the stuff they're not doing. If they were number 1 on all their terms, you'd make this much money, we'll have this much traffic, and you haven't. So basically now, which ones do you want to fill in? Mm-hmm. And that brought the numbers up to directors to a level that says, this is a big problem, a big challenge and worth tackling. I think against that, though, in the early days, there were lots of search engines. Now there's one, but against that, we can now optimize on Facebook. We can now optimize in app stores.
There's all the other things. We have a French search engine. It's going to take over the world. It's going to beat Google. No, I'm kidding.
No. Well,
Well, their objective is 5%. They want 5% of market share. That's
okay.
That's doable, I think.
Doable. Yeah, okay. Good luck.
That's still a lot.
Yeah.
But
we'll have a good search API for them if they can't do it themselves,
Well, you got a new French, a quant-like search engine, which quant is about respecting privacy, and there's one that came out in England, I think, no?
Well, no, the US has DuckDuckGo now.
But there's a British one, I think, a new one coming out or just came out. I know Quant told me about it, so
okay.
But they're coming to England.
There's a few different things. Well, I don't want to give too much about that. Let me deal with the space thing first, and we'll figure out what we do in the next few years with ourselves. Because we've got, when you look at the web crawlers on the internet, we're in the top 5, certainly top 10 web crawlers. There's Google, then there's Microsoft, and then, we're in the kind of Yandex, Baidu kind of crowd on the crawl volume. So we've got the data, and that gives us a huge advantage for the future, whether it's us that takes it to the next level or somebody that uses our data to take it to the next level. I think we have a really important part of the puzzle for building the next generation of search engines, because we know how influential every page is on the internet and in what context, because of the topics. We don't have all the on-page stuff, but we've made the problem much, much smaller. And if you're doing search, I've got a presentation I do that is all about the needle in the haystack analogy. And everything we look for is a needle in a haystack in life and in search. You don't search everything. You just search a little bit of stuff very quickly. So you go to a library. You don't go to book number 1 to find the mass of the moon. You go to the astrology section and start there. So very quickly we narrow it down, and search is all about that as well. And you can't do that easily unless you've first got an overall idea of everything on the internet, so that you know what you've got to look at more closely.
Okay, to end up, last question. How do you, as an old school SEO, you're not old, but you're old school SEO.
Yeah, I'm old. I'm 52. It's old.
I'm 47. It's
you're old too.
Very old. Well, very old. But
You're catching me.
Okay, what do you think of the future? This whole the Google desktop-like version, right? The Google we know is kind of amid single left. Now it's machine learning rolling the thing. Mm-hmm. It's kind of not frozen, but the if you compare to Google now, the app to predictive search and so on, where do you see this whole thing going? From
well, I think
what
it's a couple of different things. I think firstly, so I could talk about localization and predictive text and search and stuff like that, but I think further and above that or deeper. There's a few things that are really important that I don't see SEOs talking about. The first is the idea of entity search, and the way that Google has some research documents out there which I think are very interesting, but a really long read. But for me, they were worth it. Where I would suddenly realize that it was not about the website anymore. It was more about the entity that the website was talking about, and so Google, instead of storing loads of URLs, it's storing loads of ideas, whether it's, the Queen of England or Toulouse or places or people, whatever it may be. These entities are now stored as an idea separately, and then all of the other signals, that entity is mentioned on this website over here, or it appears with a video over there, or it's got an app that's associated with it over there. All those different entities then, all those different mentions or citations or elements then come back to say this entity is more influential than this one in this context.
The value, yeah.
So I think that's a really different way to understand how the internet's evolving, and I think that's just something that SEOs are not even considering really. And they should be.
We are talking about it, at least with my friends, and our point of view is very simple. The blockchain would be amazing.
Yeah.
To give that value, blockchain is exactly the concept we need to give the credit and be sure that credit is good,
Yeah. So explain blockchain.
Well, blockchain is it's a revolution. They should press reset and redo the internet with blockchain. But how could I explain it even in English? But it's like peer-to-peer.
Yep.
Transaction. But meaning you credit, you vouch for the transaction,
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So if you give value to something, there is the credit is you can't fake it. You can't for financial transaction, for example, blockchain will be a revolution.
So when Tim Berners-Lee first set up the internet and he set up HTML, really hypertext links as an idea. He really broke a fundamental element of programming, where you kind of if you're going to connect to something, you need to check that it's there before you kind of put it out there. But he's put hypertext links can link to anything, and that thing can change, and so there's no verification process in the original hyperlink protocol. So it sounds like that your mates in the pub talking about that kind of idea fixes that as an issue, and it suddenly makes it much more obvious what's trustworthy. It also, though, will make it easier to buy your way to the top.
True.
So
when you see how much money Cloud made just by doing like some kind of person rank, we don't know
how much money have they made versus how much money have they got invested. There's two different things. I'm pretty sure.
You're right. How much money they could raise, but just on bullshit,
Yeah.
So if you really can crack this value, how you put a value on something, on an entity, I think I think you broke the code.
I think we're way ahead of Clout now. I think I've got a pretty good idea.
Check out blockchain. You see, if you don't know about it, it's very interesting.
No, I will. Yeah, it's going to be done. But I think my next step is, I'll take on Clout. I think we've got something better than them. And if Clout doesn't want to become a reseller of ours, then frankly, we'll go our own way, or someone else will.
True, but I mean, Majestic. What else? It's one of our pillars. There's I'm pretty scared about some tools I'm using, like Evernote. Evernote is not good in financing. Finances are in trouble. But Majestic, I'm glad it's going well. I'm going to see you in Paris for the European Search Awards.
Yep.
I was very disappointed. As a judge, I fought very hard for the topical trust flow, but the other judges routing for Lindex were better than me. But I'm going to get my revenge this year, hopefully.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We just won on the US Search Awards on that innovation, and we won the UK innovation in the UK as well. So that's okay, and hopefully we've got a few other things in the pipeline as well, which I think will also be maybe not as big as going to space.
And you can win all the time.
No, you shouldn't win all the time. So I don't mind. I don't mind. It keeps us on our toes.
True. But, okay, so I'll see you in Paris.
Thank you very much. Yeah, going to be great.
Thanks, Dixon.
Bye bye.